Hey guys, welcome into the Bear With Us podcast. Like this is just we've done this fucking episode, Frank. Oh God, it feels like the last 5 years here. I'm Jack, he's Frank. We're here to talk about the Bears losing to the Indianapolis Colts. Somehow, some way, they continue to find ways to surprise us. Frankie, Bears lose 16-21. Now fall to 1-2 on the season. How are we feeling? I know we're gonna get into some more specifics, but I just give me your overall vibe. Like Bears fans, not happy. Are you happy? Are you satisfied? What are you feeling right now?
I have very conflicting feelings about the way that game transpired, but then I also think like this year in particular versus like long term or 5-year window type of thing. That game you just can't lose the game. Just like you said, we'll get into specifics, but why I'm frustrated specifically with that game is you just squandered one of the worst quarterback performances you're probably going to get this year. Anthony Richardson was bad. He was very bad. And I mean, we were in some group chats talking, and it's not that the Bears were doing anything special. He was just missing open throw, like to a point where that game may be a blowout in the other way if he just hits like 3 or 4 easy throws. Like that's how bad he was. So isolating that game, I left that as frustrated as you can be for or I should say about a multitude of things. Do you share that frustration, Jack, or are you leaving with some optimism here?
No, there's little optimism and the only spark of hope that comes is the growth of Caleb Williams, and we'll talk about Caleb's performance here in a second. But I think the overall pessimism that I'm feeling right now is just like, here we go again with the same old, same old. You and I, Nas as well, had our concerns about Ryan Poles keeping Matt Eberflus, allowing him to pick his offensive coordinator, giving him another shot to turn this thing around. And even 2 games in, we saw it last week with some of the challenges. We saw it again this year with just game management, clock management, timeout management, not knowing when to go for 1 versus when to go for 2. Just abhorrent stuff from Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron as well. Like, this was such a winnable game. And I'm totally with you. You can't lose this one. That's what's so frustrating is like the Colts did nothing good. They did nothing good at all. And the Bears just played worse somehow than that. And it's frustrating, Frank. And I know we'll talk about the overall offense, but just like from a big picture thing, the Packers just ran the ball down the Colts' throat last week without Jordan Love. Everybody knew with Malik Willis starting, they're going to run the football. The Texans, Joe Mixon, ran all over this Colts defense. They lose DeForest Buckner last week to IR. The middle of that defense is completely open. And the big plan, the big takeaway for the coaching staff of the Bears, Eberflus and Shane Waldron, they came away with, what was it, 53 passes and 63 rushing yards?
Yeah, and so you know what, though? That point people have made, and I don't know if you're making it in the same way, as the game went along, it made so much sense to me that you just abandoned the run that game. Because in
the moment, sure, I'll give you that. In the moment, like you have to be able to adjust, and the run game wasn't working. But It was very clear from the plan early on that it was going to be a pass-heavy game, and that's
fair.
It's the plan, Frank. Like you think about that script, right? That early script, and we talked about it last week as well. Once they get off script, it's like, what the fuck is going on? Even the first couple plays. What was it, that play action, spin around, throw it to Cole Kmet, and it's just like just one of the worst plays I've ever seen. Second down continues to be a fucking problem, and it's just I don't understand what the fix is. Like, I have legitimate concerns about Shane Waldron, and I get it's week 3. I get it. But we've We've done this a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's hard not to go there when it's like all we've asked for was competent offense, right? You and I weren't asking for the 20, 35, 45 point, like 42 point. Give us 20, 25. You can win games with this defense if you score 25 points.
Yeah, and the thing is too is like it's not even about just the points. Obviously, if we can get 40 points a game, who the fuck says no to that, right? But it's like what we were sold on was like, oh, he's not an offensive genius type of guy, but it's like, and we've watched Seattle games in the past, and it was a lot of like common sense, run first, play action, and we're like, that's what a rookie quarterback needs right there, baby. Just some common sense play calling. But so Jack, since we're on that point now, we are getting the opposite of common sense play calling because last week I was more than willing, and really from the first 2 weeks, I was more than willing to throw Shane Waldron a bone. You're still figuring things out. And I know like the retort to that is like, oh, well, he had all training camp to figure it. It shit ain't real until there's live rounds coming at you. You know what I mean? Like war ain't war until it's war.
These days.
Especially these days. So like I'm always willing to, give people the benefit of the doubt, see what really, what your players can and can't do, et cetera, et cetera. But where he absolutely lost me, and I couldn't even you'd have to pay me an absorbent amount of money to continue to even give him any sort of grace. It was that whole sequence, which I swear to God, Jack, I think the only other sequence that comes to mind as being in that same ballpark were the 3 straight screens that Getsy drew up last year, which was fucking insane. But it's 1st and goal at the 5-yard line. Caleb Williams is not on the field. It's just a direct snap to Khalil Herbert. Okay, you want to get cute once. Fine. He gets 2 yards out of that. And then it's 2 straight shotgun runs to Khalil Herbert, which results in a 4th and goal on the 1-yard line. And you know what? I'm thinking at this point, I'm saying, okay, I don't love the shotgun runs. That's something I will never stick up for. I don't like it in any offense. I fucking, unless it's a draw. You get a little draw on a 2nd and long or something, okay, fine. But for it to be a consistent part of your running package, I disavow. I stand back and stand by. But I even say going into that 4th down, I say, you know what? 3 straight runs, we can set up a little boot action right here, a little play action. You have Komet or Everett act like they're blocking. They peel out and see what you got. You have another crosser right behind them. You said something very basic like that, but we've seen it a million times. So I'm like, okay, I'm not completely mad at this point. A little annoyed. For them to go to the halfback option, Jack, that's Luke Getsy. That is 2nd and 3rd year Matt Nagy. That is levels of inept of trying to get cute and outdoing yourself to the fucking nth degree. That very sequence right there, I was like, I can't Shane will have better games. I get that. Caleb will continue to progress. I'm out on the guy. There's nothing he can do now that makes me want him back next year. You go elsewhere and be a quarterback coach or wherever you get downgraded to. You cannot be here any longer.
It's a shame because I thought there were some good designs, especially to get Rome Odunze involved in the offense, which is something we've been fucking begging for the last 2 weeks. And finally, Rome starts to get a lot more involved. I was very happy with Rome. Get the ball to the guy you drafted 9th overall. Like it's really not that complicated. And then there were some good designs that Waldron had. And if you want to see more, I suggest going to YouTube and checking out Tim Jenkins. Like his breakdowns are must see. Like he the way he's able to break down what you're supposed to be looking at. It's really insightful stuff and very well done. That being said, Frank, that speed out. But I can't even say, did Shane Waldron have like a stroke and forget that Justin Fields isn't the quarterback anymore? Because he wasn't here when Justin Fields was. That is not Caleb Williams' game. And I know I was like, I was in the moment and Nas was pushing back a little bit. And if he was on this podcast, I'd be calling him out for it right here and now. Get the kid his first touchdown pass. What the fuck are we doing here? It's been, at that point, it was what, 10 quarters since Caleb Williams' first touchdown? He didn't even let him throw the ball once.
Yeah.
Not one time did you let him throw the football at that goal line spot. And the wildcat shit, running it with Khalil Herbert, give the fucking ball to Roshan Johnson. And Frank, I'm sorry. We need to go back to that speed out play because it's such a terrible design, but also just such terrible execution where you have 4 offensive linemen just falling down. And if you watch it from the overhead view, and you'll see it on Tim Jenkins' breakdown on the All 22, if you watch it, I'm not shitting you, Tevin Jenkins just falls down. Like, I don't know if he was like trying to get like a tripping call. He just straight up falls down. Nobody touches him. I do not understand the execution of that play. I truly do not understand the thought process, the play call, and the worst part was that they said after the game that was a special play. They had practiced that. They had brought that in because of a certain look that the Colts defense gave, and they called it, and then they just didn't get what they thought they were going to get.
I guess where I struggle though, Jack, and I'm laughing, and I'm listening to you. I hear you, but I have that whole sequence bookmarked, and I'm watching it right now on Twitter. When is the last time, legitimately, we saw a halfback option in the NFL work? Like I harken back to like a few Cam Newton rookie play, but like Cam was such a threat running the ball that like that was the only reason it had, but it was never for anything crazy. It was for, on a 3rd and 2,
vertical, right?
That's what I meant. Like Jesus fucking Christ, man,
going lateral with a guy who isn't like Caleb is a good athlete. Let's not get it twisted, but he's not Justin Fields. I don't.
Yeah, no one will ever confuse
play.
him with a running quarterback. Like he's just not that type of athlete. It just is what it is. Like his athleticism comes with his escapability, with his arm, the different angles he can do, the torque he can get on balls from different angles. Like we know what he comes with that. So yeah, the fact that that's even in the playbook to me, especially on a 4th and goal, is mind-boggling. But
to not have a pass option out of that either, no check, nothing.
Yeah,
it's a special play. Like
it just doesn't. It makes zero sense at all to me.
I told you, I texted it to you earlier today. I said, if I'm Ryan Poles, I have that image pulled up of the offensive line, all 4 of them on the ground. I say, Matt, Shane, in my office right now, have the play up. I'd be crossing my arms and I'd just be sitting there. I wouldn't say a fucking thing until they just, whatever excuse they want to give, and be like, this can't happen again. Or you're fucking gone.
Yeah, the whole sequence, the whole half, a lot of his play calling was very bad. But one thing that I do want to focus on as well, because it's like, I guess the 3 topics that we're all hitting at once are OC, offensive line, Caleb Williams, but they all sort of blend together. So it's, you know what I mean? I don't want the listeners to have too tough of a follow here, but the one place that to me still has nothing to do with Eberflus or Shane Waldron is what you just mentioned, is the offensive line. Again, bad play in the first place, but the fact that 4 of your linemen are on their ass and 4 to 5 Indianapolis Colts are in the backfield as soon as that play starts is inexcusable. So again, to your point with it being, on execution as well, that's where I find, when I was talking earlier, like I have these weird conflicting feelings. That's the portion that scares me the most. It's not Shane Waldron. Again, I expect him to have better games, or maybe not even better, because the one thing that we are seeing is Caleb is superseding bad play calls at this point already in his career. That second half was fucking butter. That you just see why he's picked number 1 and talked about the way he's talked about. But that offensive line, not only does it make Shane's job harder, and again, I hate that it sounds like I'm making excuses for the guy, because I'm not, but it does. But you may get your quarterback killed here. Like they are just that bad, dude. Like I had the stats. Let me get the stats pulled up really quick. The most rushing yards per game going into game 3 were the Colts by a wide margin. 237 rushing yards a game were given up by the Colts by against teams that weren't exactly. It's not like you're going against Saquon Barkley here. You know what I mean? It's not like you're going against fucking CMC. They didn't play either of those teams, I don't believe, in week 1.
Joe Mixon and Josh Jacobs were the 2 running backs that they went
against. Fine running backs. But I mean, there are levels to this, and that's not the tandem that I think is going to dice you up in that manner. But my whole point is, what did we run for? 60 yards? 60. If we can't run the ball against the Colts with
63 yards, 63 rushing yards.
63 yards against a defensive line that's down to like 3 backups. Jack, we're not going to be able to run the ball at all. But then I almost get convoluted, and I don't want to talk too much. I want to throw it to you because I want to know what your thoughts are here, because we were texting throughout this. The offensive line is bad. Totally agreed. But there were times where I'm looking at DeAndre Swift and I'm saying, there's a hole there. Why is he not cutting? There are plays to be made here that he's not making. And to contrast that, when other players are in, that YPC is a little bit higher. That those cuts are starting to happen. So I'm sitting there thinking, like, what exactly is he being coached to do in these situations? Or is it just his vision? Something's off with him in particular as it pertains to just straight running the ball. Now, that drop he had on that screen was fucking inexcusable too, because you talk about, I don't want to get too in the dirt right now on him or in the weeds, but you talk about where he does bring value or is supposed to bring value, it is catching the ball. So that's just him in general is not good. But again, it's not like it looked great with Roschon or Herbert either. This offensive line is fucking bad, dude. We're not going to be able to run the ball against anybody.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously the biggest takeaway was everyone's excitement about Roschon Johnson getting a little more involved. 8 carries for 30 yards. Frank, that's only 3.8 yards per carry. So it's like,
yeah.
And I know we'll talk a little bit more about Roschon Johnson maybe overall, but, Khalil Herbert, 4 carries for 9 yards. Again, I think 2, maybe 3 of those carries were at that goal line. So I don't put too much stock into that. And then DeAndre Swift, 13 carries for 20 yards for 1.5 yards. And I'm sitting here wondering, that running back coach on Hard Knocks who was all excited about Velus Jones and saying he was going to fight for him more than anybody else. It's like, maybe you should have been fighting over DeAndre Swift to make sure he actually was getting involved in this offense. I just don't understand how you, myself, Bears fans, Eagles fans, Lions fans can sit here and say, get DeAndre Swift in space. That's where he's going to help you. And yet a professional offensive coordinator says, nah. We got to run him through the tackles. Like, it's crazy to me. The usage of DeAndre Swift, especially when you're running behind this interior offensive line that's just not good. And you're asking guys, you're asking a 40-year-old tight end to block. You're asking your tight end one. Took you 3 games to figure out that he's your best receiving tight end, not Gerald Everett. You're asking him to block their best rookie pass rusher. It's malpractice at this point, Frank. Like, this running game, that if you're right, you said it all. If this run game can't get it going against this Colts team without DeForest Buckner, who the fuck are they going to get it going against?
Yeah. Which leads me to a point, but I do have, because this may be something that we talk about more often than we want to, because again, running backs are a dime a dozen. We shouldn't be having this issue with running backs. But I've been confused because we've had this conversation in so many ways before. I'm a little bit confused as to what this regime exactly wants out of a running back, to be honest, because I'm seeing remnants of what happened with Deontay Foreman last year. He was the only north-south runner on the team. Khalil Herbert had, he's very good, but he's almost like a hybrid in terms of running style in between a north and south and like what David Montgomery got you, which was a lot of east and west, trying to break tackles, but hard to bring down. He's sort of in that tweener, but we saw the most success last year out of Deontay Foreman. And it's like, okay, you could say he didn't block very well in this, but give me some downfield running. And I feel the same way now with Roschon. He's the only north-south guy that we have. Get him in there and just play a little bit of smash mouth every now and then. Help your rookie out, because again, to your point, it still didn't look spectacular, but goddamn, does 3.8 look a lot better than 1.5?
Not wrong there.
Second and 6 looks a lot better than 2nd and 9. Like, it's, you get what I'm saying? Like, I say it almost boggles my mind, because it's some of it is like, there's like this weird overlap of hypocrisy, because you can't say, oh, well, Deontay Foreman was inactive on certain game days because he couldn't pass block. Well, why is Roschon inactive on certain game days? Because he can't. He has been our best pass blocking running back since he was drafted. That's how good he is at it. So it's very strange there. But to your point, if we cannot run against this team, well, both of our points, we can't run against anybody. That leads me into thinking about how sexy that second half was with Caleb Williams. Because part of me is like, we did come into this season with potential hopes of playoffs. It wasn't playoffs or bust. It was the talent is there, and if they can put it together quick enough, we can see it. But the one thing that was always on the top of the mind, and it has been since Mitch was drafted, since Fields was drafted, and now then Caleb is here. We have to develop this kid. And if I can hit 30 to 40 passes a game, like at the end of the day, that's a lot of fucking development. And what we saw from Caleb in that second half, really from like the middle of the second quarter on, Jack, he has missed some throws. But where I am left right now is, dude, like think back to Mitch, think back to Justin, and think back to how we had to like almost like fine tooth comb the thing of like, well, this throw was there and not on the same page. Like, I'm already to the point, Jack, that I don't feel the need to every little throw. And what did Tim Jenkins say? And what did this guy say? And what did the quarterback school for 2.5 hours? I'm past that, dude. Like, he is a legitimate NFL quarterback. And part of the reason why I say, or a big part of the reason why I say that, again, he's missed some throws. And that just happens. Pat misses throws. Everyone misses some throws. To one, I'm seeing him not get down from that and continue to churn out these things and get better at them. That little feather of a throw that he made 20-something yards downfield with Dunze on that crossing route, he missed that in week 1 and week 2. Like, you're seeing these progress, seeing the timing, you're seeing him play within the structure. But Jack, the biggest part of why I'm like, I don't even care about a missed throw or two. I don't care about, like he missed this one, but if this guy made the play and that would happen, if he would have dove and like how we had to like squint and do these things with Mitch and with Justin. I saw this man audible a handful of times that game. So 2 reasons why that's big for me. He understands pre-snap reads. Yeah. He understands what he's seeing. He's checking into things. But I guess 1B to that point is they were successful out of those checks. Good things happen out of those checks. He's recognizing things in his third start. But 2, and say what you will about the coaching staff, but at the end of the day, they're pros and they know some things. They're already allowing this kid to do that shit. Justin and Mitch were never trusted with doing that. And make no mistake, I know ego plays a lot of it with some coaches, but if they understand that their quarterback is smart enough, they're audibling to another one of their plays. You know what I mean? Like it's right. They can still take the credit wherever they need it. Dude, this kid is so far advanced at this point in his career than anyone that we've ever had at the quarterback position, Jay Cutler included. And I'm a Jay guy. Dude, he's doing things in his third start that we've seen people who were here for a handful of years not do one single time. This kid, listen, I just don't see him ever busting out. Like his floor is so high. At the very least, if you're a Bears fan, you come out of that game and say, this is a high level prospect that we've never fucking had before. Just point blank, period. There's no other way to look at this kid.
I think I heard somebody say it. I don't remember who. It's funny that you mentioned the floor because I think the floor is still very high. Obviously, I think it's a little bit lower than maybe we thought it was, just based off the first couple weeks, and that's fine. I think that's okay. But that ceiling is just something that we have not seen, and I don't want to get too much into the Justin stuff. It's becoming just annoying at this point. Like, root for Justin. It's okay. It's really okay to be a fan of Justin, but it's also okay to be a fan of Caleb. And I know a lot of people are pointing to the turnovers this week, especially Matt Eberflus, who said that Caleb can't have those 3 turnovers, which I think is a little absurd in my opinion, because I would argue one of those turnovers are on him, and that was just the bad interception that he threw. Can't be throwing stuff late. The one that he threw to Rome that just bounced off his hands and into a guy that like just not even in the play. That happens. It's going to happen. The sack fumble, that's on play calling. You cannot have Cole Kmet blocking their best pass rusher one-on-one. And Gerald Everett, Mercedes Lewis, why are we wasting roster spots on these dudes? Like I just Gerald Everett, fine, whatever. I think he's probably over the hill, unfortunately, but a 40-year-old tight end, I don't know. That being said, I think you're starting to, not starting to, you saw it this week. That chemistry between DJ, Cole, Rome, it's building. It's what I said last week. Caleb has never thrown to these guys before. It's going to take some time, especially at the NFL level, especially behind this offensive line. And Frank, one thing I really want to point your attention to, because one of the biggest things, or let me ask you, if you had to say, top three biggest issues with Justin Fields running this offense, playing quarterback, what would you say were maybe the top three? And there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just curious.
My top three, and they all may be there. I think they're all at least somewhat related, but he held the ball way too long.
Stop right there, because that's exactly what I was hoping you'd say. Caleb Williams' average time to throw, week 1, 2.75 seconds. Week 2, 2.85 seconds. Week 3, 2.64 seconds. He's getting the ball out.
Yep.
He knows what he's looking at. He knows where he's supposed to be looking. He knows where he's supposed to be going with the ball. He's reading the right progressions. He's making the right decisions. Maybe not every single time, maybe not always the best throw, but he's getting it out.
Yep.
And I think that speaks to what you were saying. He very clearly knows what he's supposed to be looking for.
Yep.
Right out of the snap.
That whole second half was dot,
That's
dot.
what I'm
Getting
saying.
through your reads quick. Precise, accurate. And then like the one thing that we, in the first 2 weeks where we were like, yeah, some of the arm strength, he let that shit hang yesterday. I mean, those were darts.
If he was going to miss, he was going to miss by 10 yards.
Yeah, the overthrows are still annoying, but I'm just talking about some of those intermediate, like putting it in a fucking window. Just, right. Tossing that thing like 80 miles an hour. It was ridiculous. Jack, can I go back really quick? Because the big problem that I have with Eberflus saying about the turnover thing, I'm not saying you can't say that about a rookie. Because again, to your point, that the first interception, that's inexcusable at any level of the game. You were very late on that read, and then you just sort of lofted it up there. Like if you're going to make that throw, you just throw that thing away. You know how to give up on that play. Rookie mistake, it's bad, but whatever. You just hope you never see that one again. But what I didn't, the one thing, I guess, using Justin Fields again as the example, the one place that I stand firm that this coaching staff did wrong by Justin Fields was coaching the playmaking out of him, where it's like, well, just protect the ball and be careful. And like, there is a degree to that in certain situations, but I still want my quarterback to be comfortable making that throw to Roma Dunze that he should have caught that got picked. If that is your message to a young quarterback, you're going to coach that out of them. And I think that's what we saw. That may have been way more gutsy than anything else, because we're seeing Justin now in a different offense, throw these seam routes and things that we saw his rookie year. But like, I don't want that. Yes, protect the ball, but go make a play too. Like it's because to me, if you're preaching protect the ball, that to me then means put it in a spot where only your playmaker can make the play on these tight window throws. Or to your other point, where like no one can make the play. You sort of gave up on the play, you overthrew it. It is what it is. We go to third down, whatever the next down is. Like that sentiment, I don't want to hear from Eberflus. Fuck off, fuck all the way. I do not want to hear that from him.
So one thing I think maybe we should give Eberflus a little bit more credit for this year, if we were looking for some positives, he's been a little bit, he's been more aggressive for my light. Than I expected him to be. He's going for it on more 4th and 1s. He's not just taking points. He's letting his offense kind of figure it out, which is something we saw in the preseason as well. If you remember, I think it was the second preseason game where he's like, no, this isn't good enough. Let's keep going. Like I like that change from Eberflus. I do. It's those same fears that just keep popping up, where it's just like game management stuff. Like that has nothing to do with a rookie quarterback.
Yep.
Like that. Like I saw Greg Gabriel, who, I'm not here to comment on if you like him or hate him. I saw him talking about how people who were getting too upset about the game management stuff, this is what's going to happen. This is what it looks like with a rookie quarterback. I don't know what him not knowing to go for 2 or 1 and then having to burn a timeout that ended up costing them at the end of the game. Like, I don't know what that has to do with Caleb. I truly don't understand. It really makes me wonder, where it's like, okay, offensive coordinator does not look good again. Very questionable play calling, very questionable players actually on the field. Like, if Velus isn't playing in a week where Travis Homer is hurt, Why is he still on this team?
Yeah.
Why is Roshan Johnson, why did it take him this long to get involved in the game? Because, yeah, the rushing, it wasn't amazing, but it was effective. And
Yep.
what else did he do? 4 catches for 32 yards. He gives you a little something. Why was he not playing? And then you start to think, okay, then you start to see the game management stuff, and you're like, okay, none of this is improved from last year. He's getting out coached by Shane Steichen, another coach who's maybe not above average, but he's average, I would say. So
at least, I mean, Anthony Richardson did him no favors. To my earlier point, Jack, we're going to see a real test here against Sean McVay because I thought Steichen's play calling had Eberflus beat. It's just that Anthony Richardson was not executing those plays.
This was a must-win game, in my opinion, because you get the Rams coming up here, and everyone expected, well, the Rams are missing Kupp, they're missing Puka, they're missing, their offensive line. Didn't matter. Rams come out and win because Sean McVay is a Hall of Fame coach, and he's a damn good coach. Coaching fucking matters. And my biggest concern, Frank, of not moving on from Eberflus was now the Bears are potentially going to be in this same cycle again, where if they do move on from Eberflus, you're bringing in another head coach that had nothing to do with drafting Caleb Williams. And of course, NFL coaches being interviewed for the position are going to say, oh, I love Caleb pre-draft. Oh, I can do this with him. I can do, but that doesn't, we saw that with Matt Nagy. He loved Trubisky.
Yeah.
No, he fucking didn't. He just wanted the job.
I get what you're saying. This is very, very, very different, in my opinion. Again, this wasn't, Mitch being second or third on most people's boards, but we thought he was a project and he can go from there. Justin, again, I still don't agree with it, but for whatever reason, being behind Zach Wilson, a lot of execs agreed. Caleb was far and away. 32 out of 32 front offices say they take Caleb in that situation, whether it was over Fields or over anyone else that was there to be drafted. Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, and the crew. This is but I get what you mean, but I think this will be the first time, if we are in a head coach search, people are going to be wanting us. You know what I mean? It's not going to be us begging it. People are going to be chomping at the bits to be this kid's coach.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point that Caleb will. He is the number one quarterback. But again, we can say that, but what options are going to be out there? And again, I know we might be jumping the gun a little bit here, but I don't think it's that unreasonable to start asking if Matt Eberflus is going to get fired at the end of the season. Now, granted, they're 1-2. We expected them at this point to be 2-1, right? Beat the Titans, lose to the Texans, beat the Colts. I just, at home against the Rams, I don't trust Matt Eberflus to outcoach Sean McVay, regardless of who's available for the Rams.
Yeah.
At this point. Now, granted, I know one other thing you wanted to touch on was the defense. My concerns over the defensive line are completely gone.
Agreed.
I know Nas was a big proponent of, hey, we need to get another pass rusher. I know that was a big sore spot for a lot of people as well. But I have zero concerns about this defense. Zero.
Yeah. My only concerns about the defense, to be quite honest with you, is the offense. I'm going to make that make sense here in a second. We've talked about year after year, week after week, winning with your defense isn't sustainable. And it's not, you get these years like the 85 Bears where they gave up 9 points a game. You're seeing it with Pittsburgh right now giving up 8 points a game. That's not going to last. Even if it can last a full year, it's not sustained amongst the success you want to have for a franchise. But even across 1 year, it usually never breaks that way. Your defense starts to break a little bit because you're playing professional offenses. Your professional offense needs to score the football. And we sort of saw that against the Colts. And I made a joke of yep, when the defense needed them, they let us down because Jonathan Taylor, got that third and whatever it was to ice the game. And I was joking, but the point being is that's exactly why it can't always be reliant on the defense. They're going to break sometimes, and you have to help them out. You have to score points. You have to sustain drives, and it's not happening. And a game where I was looking for this other tweet that I saw, we outgained the Colts by a gazillion yards. It wasn't even close. which is a roundabout way of also talking about Eberflus, because again, this is in-game management stuff. This is your coach that you pick, your OC that you pick, that is actively losing us games right now. This is like, I mean, so someone asked, is he or do the Bears have the worst coaching staff in the NFC North? And like, not only is the answer yes, it's like a resounding yes, because it's not even close. Like, right. look at what the Vikings are doing with that offense. Granted, Justin Jefferson is Justin fucking Jefferson, but like, what would they be doing with this? What we have? Look at what LaFleur is doing with Malik Willis, who, by the way, is better than Kenny Pickett. So I won in the long run.
Oh, yeah.
But
no, come on, get Kenny P in with Kevin
cut it out.
He's
small
doing
hands,
the same
small hands. Small hands, you're gay.
Small hands, you're gay. You're all gay. Everybody's eating cats and fucking dogs.
But like, if you put any of those coaches, any of those staffs with this team, we are 3-0. It's insane. Like, this coaching staff is under a microscope right now. And listen, I love what Ryan Poles has done. And I'm even willing to give him the grace of saying, the way you built this roster, while it's been amazing, and I've maybe disagreed and I wanted some trench early, you still built this fucking thing marvelously. This is from what you've started with to what you have now. It's great. And it's only 3 off seasons, but if this continues, where his head will roll is going to be with Eberflus. He's going to have to make a decision maybe he does not want to make for whatever reason. But it's going to continue. You know, that microscope is going to get bigger amongst who hired who and where the buck stops. So I hope we're looking back in week 12. We're like, man, like, we really want to fire Eberflus and we're doing great, but it's hard. But the trends that we saw the first few years are still here. Nothing has changed in that regards. Like, it's a complete, like, where I am very optimistic with Caleb is it took 2.5 games for us to be like, holy shit, he's already figured out the speed of the games here. He's playing within the offense. Look at the throws he's making. Look at the reads. Look at the audibles. This is year 3 with Eberflus. He has made 0 adjustments to any of the in-game stuff that you and I have been complaining about since year 1. And we were even giving him a grace of being like, we're supposed to lose. We're like half juggling. Maybe he's doing it on purpose. He's trying to win now. There are no excuses.
He's trying to win now, and it's going to be what it was with Lovey, where it's like, and this is why I think it's just overall so frustrating. And don't get me wrong. Hold on, before you get too down the road, Lovey was and is a much better coach than Matt Eberflus is at this point. Like,
yeah.
But the reason it's so frustrating is because it's just the same old story, time in, time out with the Bears, where it's just they got these really good defensive players. They have a defensive-minded head coach who's really good at the defensive side of it, but just cannot figure out the offensive hiring. Just can't do it. And again, I want to offer some grace to Shane Waldron because it's only 3 games, right? He's learning his players. He's learning Caleb. They're building that relationship. But when you see play calls that just do not make any sense, and with Matt Eberflus's track record with Luke Getsy, it's just like, okay, like, what did you really replace? And then you throw on top of it people that we saw talking about from, Seahawks fans who were like, oh, thank God we got rid of this guy. And now, they're 3-0, just saying. You start to really wonder, like, okay, is there a problem here? And until we see that problem is fixed, I am not going to feel good. I'm just not.
Yeah.
Because I don't, this team, this franchise, they have not earned that trust. Now, with that being said, absolutely nailed the quarterback pick.
Yep.
Absolutely fucking nailed it. I love the Rome pick. I get the offensive tackles. I really don't think there was a lot to do at 9. Maybe if Joe Alt had fallen, okay, sure.
Easy pick if Alt fall. And but potentially even who was the other tackle that
Fashanu, the Steelers Fashanu? Is that who it was?
No, I'm not thinking of Fashanu. I'm thinking of
which one?
I'm fucking blanking. But there was another one that I'd have been okay with. But sure. I think he was taken already.
I wouldn't have been mad about a tackle pick, but again, I like the Rome pick. I think Rome is going to be very, very good. But coaching matters. It's so obvious. It's so clear, Frank. Coaching fucking matters. And we've been saying it. And that's why it's so frustrating that Matt Eberflus is still in the command seat, the command chair of this team. Because you talk about LaFleur, and you talk about Kevin O'Connell, and you talk about Sean McVay, and you look at what they're doing. What's the thing they have in common, Frank? They're offensive-minded head coaches.
Yeah. Well, it's also like, again, I know those are the easy examples, but and it would be phenomenal to get, because I think Ben Johnson is on his way to being that sort of, kid genius, drawing up incredible plays all the time and getting people open. But like, we have so much talent on offense. We don't need the genius. We just need, I feel like Dow Loggins can come in here and fucking draw up some solid, or like Bill Lazor, like the guys who we've had here over the, some years, it was common sense stuff where they took the play calling from Matt Nagy, like, okay, this is what a professional, nothing spectacular, nothing crazy, but that is what you need with this type of talent. You don't need anything crazy. It's the same fucking reason that Zach Taylor has a job. What has he ever done remotely spectacular that's on the same level of the names that you're bringing up, of an Andy Reid, of a Sean McVay, of even a Mike McDaniel? Granted, he may be trending towards the overrated portion for being out, but you get what I'm saying? Like, we've seen them draw up guys wide open. You're like, holy shit, how did he do it? And these guys stood up till 2 a.m. fucking drawn up. Took a shit and it just popped in my head. Like, we don't need that dude. We need a Zach Taylor. We just need someone. They have so much talent outside of the ball, and all they do is mac. They're like, all right, we're doing what you do best. T. Higgins, you like jump balls? You get 5 of them a game. Hey, Chase, we can get you out in the open space. When we see a single high safety, you just run straight. Like, dude, all we fucking need is common sense play calling with this roster, because they're that talented.
You know who would have been a good hire? Joe Brady.
Maybe. But wasn't there some weird shit going on with him, though? There was like a...
Enough.
No. I mean, like, wasn't there a weird locker room thing with him?
Probably. But who cares?
In Carolina, or am I mistaking him for someone else?
Get him upstate. I ain't taking anybody's word out in Carolina. All right.
Yeah, I don't know if that was Tepper yet, though. But I feel you. You're right.
What you're saying is that the Bears need to hire Mark Trestman again to come in and run this thing.
No. He was
on the offense. On the offense
for a year, and then after that 1 year, you get rid of him.
Can we get Mike Tice back?
Mike Tice has been the best play caller we've had in our life.
All right, come on.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I thought you said Mike Martz. I'm sorry. I thought you said Mike Martz. No. Mike Tice was terrible.
He's not.
I thought you said Mike Martz.
Coach. Why is he calling plays?
That was, oh my God.
What are you doing? No, I have concerns. Here's where I would like to end this podcast.
Yes.
Right? And I'll say this. If you have any concerns about Caleb Williams as a Bears fan, you're a moron.
Yeah.
Any concerns you have about this team, overall, wins, losses, fair. It's all on coaching. Until that gets better, I will not personally feel good at all about where this team is headed in the future. Now, we're not even a fourth of the way through the season. There is plenty of time to turn some things around, but we got to see it. I'm done just assuming that things will be okay. I'm done, because there's just I've seen this shit too much, and Waldron needs to get his fucking act together, and the offensive line needs to fucking pick up their play. Now, I thought Matt Pryor was good. I thought
he was better than Nate Davis. That's
couldn't have been worse.
Sure.
Couldn't have been worse.
Yeah.
But we need this team needs to pick up their play a lot, and things do need to improve, or else I just will not feel good about where this thing is headed. Agreed. And it's unfortunate. Because Caleb but last thing, and then I'll throw it to you, and you can kind of close this out however you'd like. We've been going back and forth with a couple Packers fans these past few days. All right, they're having their fun. All right, they're laughing because they can win games with Malik Willis, and we can't with Caleb Williams. Fine, fair enough. But they said something that I actually agreed with. If you guys had solved the quarterback issue, you could spend your first round picks on offensive linemen. And that's what the Packers do. So, with that being said, you've got the quarterback. It doesn't have to be, this is not if we don't win this year, if they don't win the Super Bowl this year, it's not the end of anything. Let's start building that line. Let's start building around Caleb. We have the guy. You cannot watch that game and tell me Caleb isn't the guy to build around. You just can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
No, and that's a perfect baton pass to me, because that's what I want to end with here. Again, we all had certain worries with every quarterback here, and it's not to say he has like zero, worries, but you think about in terms of just a prospect and what he needs to work on. It's really not fucking much. Like, just this kid is so high level. I know I'm repeating myself, but I cannot reiterate it enough. If you left that game, I felt this way after week 2. He missed some throws, but I never doubted that he was going to get that going. That's a reps thing. But what you see from this kid pre and post snap and how quick he gets that ball out, but then you're starting to see now him get comfortable within not only this offense, but just the speed of the game itself. And for him to start ripping those seam throws and I mean, Jesus Christ, like, I hope we can get there with the option route stuff. It's hard to pick. It's not to take any blame off of him. You just don't know who's at fault because you have no idea who saw the coverage right. But from what I've seen from him, I'm leaning towards him being the right guy in those scenarios because he's diagnosing things pre and post snap very, very well. So that's sort of my ender as well, is if you left that game having any doubts that this kid is the future of the Chicago Bears, I don't know. You're not a Bears fan, or I don't want to be like I'm on my high horse here, but you just don't know what you're watching at all. I don't want to act like an expert at all, but the basic things that I know of what a quarterback needs to see, he's fucking got it, and even more. Like, he is so good. Last thing, what the internet won't do, what Twitter will not do, is pit Justin Fields against Caleb Williams in this aspect. I think anyone with common sense knew it was time to move on from Fields. But if you polled, like how we have these like presidential polls going on right now of who you vote, I think if you polled every Bears fan in Chicago, Justin Fields in terms of favorability and in terms of like, do you still like the guy, would be a huge net positive. Everyone loved the kid, but I think people with common sense realized you can't just keep going with this unknown, regardless of who's at fault, who was at fault for him being an unknown, but he still was that. But like, no one's going to get me to root against this kid, Jack, because what I started to do, because of a lot of tweets and a lot of like rage baiting tweets, was start to pull up some of those stats that Nas showed us in those fourth quarter and start to show up why we, and I said, you know what? Fuck that, because I'm still rooting for that kid. Twitter will not get me to do that because I want him to succeed. I still like Justin Fields, but nothing he does in Pittsburgh will make that the right decision in that moment. Well, will make keeping him the right, that would have been the wrong choice to keep him in that moment.
People kind of just forget about the whole pay part of it, right?
Yeah, they do.
Like, you're going to have to pay Justin. Pittsburgh will have to pay Justin to keep him. Like, they're going to have to pay him if they want to keep him.
Yep.
Now, that being said, I'm going to enjoy that 4th round pick.
I know.
That's nice.
There's no way that you start Russ at this point. We said this in the offseason, though. We said that Justin is a better quarterback than him.
If Russell Wilson plays without Justin, like if Mike Tomlin ever just said, nah, this was Russell's team all along, he loses that locker room instantly.
100%.
And I just don't think that's something Mike Tomlin would ever do.
I agree.
I don't see it, especially when they're 3-0. And I know a lot of it is trolling. I get that.
I don't know how much of it is though, Jack. I'm gonna be. I've sort of dissected between the two. There are some that legitimately feel that way.
No, there are quite a lot, and I get it. Like I understand why Bears fans didn't want to let him go. I understand it. He was an exciting player. They felt like we didn't build enough around him. But I do find it a little bit laughable when people are saying, well, imagine Justin with the weapons that Caleb has. And it's like, well, you could argue that Justin actually had a better offensive line. He actually had a very similar wide receiver core. Like, yeah, he didn't have Rome Odunze, but Rome just had his first big game. Like, what are we talking about? Keenan Allen hasn't even fucking played. And when he does play, he drops touchdowns in the end zone.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are we talking about here? Like, good on Justin. Keep. I will absolutely be rooting for him.
Same.
No doubt. But you can't tell me that Because one of the bigger things that everybody was complaining about in Chicago, if you remember, Frank, the passing yard stuff. And the point I was trying to make was, who cares if it's running, he's running in touchdowns? Who cares if he's getting yards with his legs? It's all the same to me. But people were saying, well, you can't win like that. And what if he gets hurt? And now you have a quarterback who can throw the fucking football like you want him to. And now you're saying, oh, no, let's go back to that guy. He can run the ball. He can do. Look how much advanced he is. Yeah, because he's been in the league for 4 years.
But that goes to my point of people not knowing what they're watching. Caleb is already more advanced at playing the quarterback position than Justin is.
Everything. He's better at everything.
The checks at the line. Again, this is what I didn't want to die, but I'm hearkening back.
Not everything. He can run better than Caleb.
Yes, he can. He's a better just pure athlete than Caleb is, but he's not quarterbacky enough for me. But I swear to God, Jack, unless my brain is failing me, I don't ever remember pre-snap, unless they just had a different way of him identifying it. I don't ever remember him identifying the mic. It was always the center. And I'm seeing Caleb consistently point out who the Mike and who the Will and who the Sam are, and like what needs to happen in checking out of plays. And like, dude, it's things that he's doing that, again, I don't think people know what they're watching. I'm not going to excuse the bad throws. He's made some bad throws, and I don't want to go down the list of what, and he's getting continuously better with that. But where his brain is and his IQ is it's a different level than anything we've had. It just is what it is.
And Justin, like, I know we've kind of peeled off onto a Justin tangent here, but it is, I think it's just a relevant conversation because people keep bringing it up to us, especially, you just look at that release by Justin. It's still slow.
Yeah.
Like there are good decisions he makes where he's like, all right, here's where I'm going with the ball. But he's just so deliberate about everything.
And it's also, he's just not anticipatory. That is right. Honestly, if I had to pick one thing, that's the biggest difference between them, is Justin can still make some really nice throws and even sometimes tight window throws, but he still has to see it. There were a handful of throws, if not more. I didn't check out any of the 11, the all 22, but I just in real time, I'm seeing Caleb throw these seam routes before they're even open. He's throwing to a spot that where his guy's supposed to be, and it goes to your point of like more reps, and as they get comfortable, it's advanced shit, especially for a rookie. This is advanced for like someone in their third or fourth year, let alone a rookie in his third game. He's different. And not for nothing, yeah. I've been taking a peek at Jaden Daniels. He looks pretty good too. That's the thing. I always root for rookie quarterbacks because the league needs an infusion of good young quarterbacks. I'm just very glad Zach Wilson wasn't one of them.
It's just interesting that I know you were kind of joking, and he's made some really good throws too, but like Jaden Daniels overthrew Terry McLaurin by like 20 yards. And I mean, I get it. Like, it's Caleb. People already had their feelings about Caleb going into the season, especially non-Bears fans. Like, I get it. But like, it's just so interesting to me how, and it's really fascinating hearing like Kurt Warner talk about like professional quarterbacks being like, I don't really know what you guys expected from Caleb Williams like this early on. Like, he's fine. Everything's okay. It's going to be all right. You got to give this thing some time. I'm going to listen to Kurt Warner. I'm going to listen to the Hall of Fame quarterback on this one. Yep. That being said, though, Frank, I don't feel good about this game.
I don't either.
I don't feel good. They can win. They can get the dub. They can.
Yep. But I was just gonna say I will feel good if the offense puts up points, win or lose. Like they're starting to really show signs. For as much as we dislike Waldron's, play calling, but again, the second half wasn't just Caleb. It was also like Waldron seemed to open it up a little bit more too. And I guess to throw him a little bit of a bone, he has, to his credit, to where Getsy, I never felt even did this. Except for letting Justin run more in that first year of him as OC, but he's overcorrecting things in a good way, I think, where, Everett out-repped Kmet week 1, now Kmet week 3 is a big part of the offense like he should have been. Like, I don't think it ever should have got to some of these points where, running from the shotgun and doing these weird pitches, that shouldn't happen, but he seems a guy that needs to get punched in the face, like, okay, maybe that didn't work, we'll do something else. So, again, I'm totally out on him maybe after the year, because that 4-play sequence was so bad, but he's showing the ability to adapt after the fact. I wish he would adapt more in game, but we should see an even better game plan and Caleb continuously showing progress in week 4.
That's what I was just about to say. This needs to carry over.
Yep.
That second half needs to carry over. And I'm not saying he needs to throw for 300 yards again. I'm not saying he needs to throw for 400 yards. It'd be nice. I need to see the consistency, because that is where this thing needs to be built upon, is consistency. We can see the big splash plays. We can see, but Rome can't have a week where he goes 1 catch for 15 yards next week. Komet can't go 3 for 27. You know, like, he needs to get everything that he was doing, getting his big playmakers involved was the correct decision. We need to see that carry over against the Rams. We have to.
Yep.
Or else this thing is just not going to work.
Agreed.
That's simple.
Agreed. I mean, so I guess we said like last thing 5 times, but I guess thinking of that overcorrection, to me this week is
fun. We're fired up. But this is the most pissed I've been. Throughout the season. Let's make it.
I agree, but the big overcorrection that I need is Roschon is your RB1. I don't want. I will see nothing different. That will be another red flag for me for Shane Waldron and Matt Eberflus if that does not happen. He's clearly right now the best running back, and then at that point you sort of have Swift as your receiving back. And then you have Herbert as your change of pace. And I think that running back room just there, or the running game, looks better just with that adjustment there.
Can I make a quick amendment to what you're saying?
No, that's Bear With Us podcast, everyone. Thank you. No, I'm kidding. Yes.
It's not so much that I need Roschon to be RB1. I need to see different looks for the running backs. Like, if he involves Swift in a different way, but Swift ends up getting the most touches, I'm okay with that.
Agreed.
I'm okay with that. But if he is just running up tackles, if he's running sweeps outside zone, like, it'll depend on the usage for me.
Agreed. Well, I guess that's what I should say is in terms of just running downhill. That's the guy that I need. They almost want to use DeAndre Swift as a power back, and that's just not.
It's never
him
has
in
been.
The slightest, because
it never has been.
And now listen, I'm not saying I want. No, he has never been. And I'm not the guy saying I want Montgomery back. But what I am saying is, if that's what you wanted, you had that. So what the fuck are we doing here? Like, why are you searching for something you already had? I thought you were trying to build a room that had a little bit more diversity. And you know, you're paying 2 or 3. I mean, similar to the Roquan thing, you're paying 2 or 3 guys that money that brings you this diversity versus the one guy. And I just
the first signing that the Bears made.
I know, and he just looks. Again, part of this is just on him though. He looks bad.
Yeah, it's weird though. Like, he'll get like these, like, to start the game, like he'll like get like a solid gain, like 5-6 yards, and you're like, okay, all right. And then it's just back to the same, where he's just like not making the right reads, he's not making the right cuts.
Yeah, you know what's something? It's a point that I don't think I've ever brought up, but I've heard it on other podcasts. You know, Hogan Johns and other guys who have more access to these coaches. The Poles and Eberflus bring up a lot more than any other regime I can ever remember about like where players' weight needs to be and like what fitness looks like. And the one thing that I have that in my mind, and I look at DeAndre Swift, does he not look thicker than he did in Detroit and in Philly? Just like I don't know if he's gained any weight, but it looks like. But I think of that like, are you trying to make certain things not? You know what I'm saying? Like, he looks a little.
An Allen diet.
He could be, yeah. He could be. I don't know. He just does not look anywhere near himself.
I attribute a lot of that to play calling. Get your best players involved. Find ways to get. They just get the run fucking game going. Come on.
Yeah.
Let's go.
But again, if we didn't do that against the Colts, dude, it's just. But the other part of me, Jack, is like, I know this is so selfish because it's not going to lead to very many wins with this.
Come on.
It gets me a little horned up thinking about Caleb tossing the rock 45 times a game. It gets me a little hot on the inside, Jackie, is all I'm saying.
Listen. Well, I said it. I was the one fucking pounding the table, and Nas was yelling at me. They're on the goal line. Fucking let him throw the ball. Let him throw it. Fuck the run game. Let's get
I guess it's not even, honestly though, Jack, it's not even the amount of runs. I need the run to fuse, I need the pass to branch off of the run. That's all. So even if you only run the ball 6-7 times in a half, as long as that's led up to something in the passing game, I'm okay with it.
As long as it sets up, because you know what I'm thinking? You know what I'm thinking the entire game while the defense is out there? Can we get a fucking turnover so I can see the offense again? I'm sick of this.
I know. Well, and Anthony Richardson gave us a lot of fucking opportunities. Dude, he's not a good quarterback. He is so toolsy and so physical. Like, he reminds me a lot, but even less refined, if you can fucking imagine that, Josh Allen, his rookie year. But even that, like, Josh Allen's big part was his footwork. Dude, Anthony Richardson, even in clean pockets, like, his feet just do not agree with his upper body on almost any throw. It's almost insane. But it's a testament to how strong his arm is, because he's able to still whip it out there. But he's like, half the time he's throwing with just his arm. There is no lower body. It's just his arm, which is why he's so inaccurate.
There was that one play where he just rifled it when all he had to do was just toss it over to him, and he just whips it.
And you know what though, Jack? The thing is, he's gonna have to get. I don't know if it's with their actual quarterback coach or one of those dudes where you hire on the side in the off season, because he did try a little touch throw, and he's so bad at it. Like, Kevin Byard should not have been able to make that play. I think almost every other quarterback in the league he was wide open by about 10 yards. They fit that in there. Like, because you still need a little bit of touch on it. You had to get it over the linebacker, but dude, he like lobbed it upwards. Like, it was horrible.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that the Bears were even in that game at all.
Because again, that's we'll have a different conversation about the defense if what I think is going to happen happens, because again, I thought Steichen calls the plays, correct?
Yes.
I thought his play calling was really good. People were open. He exposed that cover 2 a little bit to what we know it to be. He knew where the soft spots in the coverage were, and Anthony Richardson just didn't take advantage of it. So listen, McVay, we've seen this before. Elite play callers, elite quarterbacks do not have a problem with this cover 2, and Matt Stafford might. If the pass rush gets home, that's what it's predicated on. If the pass rush with 4 gets home, he's going to causes problems for everybody. But if he gets 3 seconds to throw consistently, he may gash us up.
Can I say something? Hot takes on the pod?
Yes.
Let me get my microphone a little bit closer here. Montez Sweat is going to be better than Khalil Mack ever was as a Chicago Bear.
Okay, can I also then double down on that? And he may, the reason why he will be better, he may not be as good of a pure pass rusher as Khalil was. He's way better in the run game. Way better in the run game. What Khalil did, and what my cousin was talking about, remember you brought it up last week, we were like, all right, well, good luck with Khalil. Thanks for the first. He sold out on the pass rush that left the interior so out of place sometimes, because he didn't care for containing the run. All he wanted to do was sack the quarterback, which fills up the stat sheets, sure, but it leaves your boys out to dry, the linebackers included, out to dry sometimes, a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I'm excited for the game on Sunday. Like that's the thing, man. Like I don't think anybody could argue that these Bears games haven't been entertaining. Like frustrating, absolutely, but at least Caleb gives you something to look forward to. You know what I mean? Like let's see how this kid can develop. Let's see if he can kind of put things together. And again, if they can find that consistency, Frank, if this carries over to next week and we see some improvements from the play calling, I'm going to feel pretty good. I'm not going to lie. Win or lose, like you said. Now, obviously, I want them to win. Get to 2-2. Let's go.
Are you okay? So let's end it here then for the 5th time.
Dude, I think we're pushing like 15 at this point.
I know. Are you to the point? Because if we keep losing it, we'll get to this point. I'm just trying to see where you're at here. I guess like 1 to 10 of like how close you are to getting here. Are you to the point where you would rather win, even if it means Caleb goes 10 for 30 and 125 yards, but we won, ran the ball well, he maybe made a timely throw or 2, or versus the scenario in which he throws for 3 touchdowns, 325 yards, no turnovers, but we lose? Are you to that point where you'd rather see him ball and lose, or the Bears win and him sort of sputter? There's no way you're there yet. There's no way you're there yet, Jackie.
Hold on. I think it depends on how he looks when he's throwing the 125 yards. All right. Because I've said it, Frank. I've said it, and I'll continue to say it. And I will not feel bad for saying it ever. This whole thing, it only works if Caleb is good.
I know, and that's sort of where I kind of lean.
Like 10 years from now, are you going to be looking back at a week 4 game against the Rams where Caleb threw 105 yards and they won 16-13?
No, because what you're going to be looking at is year 1 of Ben Johnson when he's averaging 400 yards passing a game, leading the Bears to a Super Bowl.
Here's what I'll say. I'm gonna kind of twist what you said. I'm not at the point where I'm actively rooting for them to lose so Matt Eberflus gets fired.
Right.
I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. Now, will I get there pretty quickly if things continue? Yeah. Because I hate in the NFL when people are just like so quick, like they get mad when people are like, you got to make a change. You got to give it time. When you know.
Yep.
Like very rarely do you hire coaches and they look like dog shit and then they finally like look good. Like,
well, at least in their first stint, like there's been ones who figured it out in the second go round, but I'm right there. But that's part of the thing is like he hasn't figured it out. But I also can't think of history where a coach was this bad at managing the game in game situations and just got better at it. Now when you kicked out and you're fucking announcing for WTTW 12 Indianapolis for a year or two and you have a chance to soak it all in, maybe you get better the second go round when Atlanta hires you. You know what I mean? But it just doesn't happen in the first stint. It just never does. Look at Bill B. Look at fucking Bill B. Look at Pete Carroll. Yeah. They were not terrible, but there was a lot of this.
And I'm not. And he just again, Eberflus hasn't earned that from anybody. He hasn't earned that from Bears fans for us to just trust him regardless. Like he just hasn't earned it.
Yeah, but how? I feel like he has the personality to do this. He's such a fucking cuck. He would do it. What if we tell him we're not firing you, but we're making you the DC, and Ben Johnson comes in as head coach and runs the offense? He would do it. I would do that.
Kind of seems like that's what he wants.
I just fucking know he donated $20,000 to Joe Biden even after he left. Just the fucking lib cuck that Matt Eberflus is. We need Dan Campbell is MAGA, baby. I need a Dan Campbell on the front lines. He stormed the goddamn Capitol. That's what I need in Chicago. That's what I need for my Bears.
All right. Come on. Throwing in MAGA accusations.
It's not accusations. Listen, we've been at the same rallies, bub.
See him out there? That Lions cap. You see him in the Chili's commercial he's got the play caller seat.
I couldn't hold that one in. Holy shit.
Bush did 9/11. He's got the
he's fully in.
Jesus Christ. Oh, what a better way to end the podcast. This has been the With Us podcast. Yeah, I'm Jack. He's Frank. We need a dub, Frankie. We need a dub. But we also need Caleb to throw 300-plus yards.
Why the 300 is arbitrary. I just want him to have another good game. Because 260 can look really good too. Forget the numbers. Sure. Just give me exactly what you did that second quarter on. That's what I need from you. Because this defense is lighting the world up. The Rams don't have a good defense.
And yet they came back and beat the 49ers. So
they did.
Who knows?
Because of his idol.
Yeah, this year has been weird already. It's not even week 4. So
I know.
We appreciate you guys listening. As always, feel free to watch us on YouTube. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen to your podcast. We're there for you. This one blew up a little bit, I think, a lot longer than we intended to, but we're fired up.
Yeah, we're having fun.
We're having fun.
We're just boys.
Pissed off still because fuck the Bears. Fuck you, Matt Eberflus, you piece of trash.
Jesus.
Yeah, I'm not going to swear at the end. Not gonna swear.
Later, Jackie. Later, everybody.